All right, good morning and welcome everybody to the Never Stop Healing podcast. This is your host of the day, Cade Archibald, and really excited to be here with everybody. We have, as the usual, we got Regan Archibald. Regan, how you doing?
Doing awesome. Yeah, doing really well.
Right. And last night, if you missed the hack, you can go back and review those recordings. And if you're not a part of our hack community, that's Health Accelerator Challenges. Go to acueastwest.com/hack. Last night we talked about the pain-free upgrade and 3 phases of care: removing, repairing, and regenerating. You guys, it was a great one. Regan was able to jump on and take care of that.
Yeah, and I apologize, I was not live on our Health Accelerator Challenge. We had, like I mentioned, we had 2 events. We're doing a lot of neuropathy these days and patients. So we were at a couple of different locations, and so we appreciate your guys' patience with. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and one of the things that we really encouraged you to do is to jump in and figure out what needs to be corrected before it's too late. So it fits into this model that we've been working on, which is, what are the unique physical abilities? And you guys know we've, with Dan Sullivan, he was on a podcast about a month ago, and we kind of brought up this concept. There's the unique abilities, which he's really big into, finding your flow state or working within the areas that you do best in. But the other concept we're bringing out is this unique physical abilities. And so what that means is, think about the cool things you love doing in life, and what is that like for you? And so do you love, like for me, and I talk about mountain biking, that's where I feel the most alive and free, is when I'm either climbing a beastly mountain around here. Puke Hill has my name written all over it, where you climb up to the Wasatch Crest Trail, or going downhill mountain biking. Cade's one of my favorite people to mountain bike with. He's so fast on the downhill, and so but I want to look at those things and I say, well, what are the activities I want to be doing when I'm 100 years old? And those are things I'd love to be doing. And so we've taken the Fitness 50 at age 100 concept and just multiplied that. And so the interesting thing that will happen with this pain-free upgrade that we talked about last night, there's some mindsets, and I'll share with you the scorecard real quick. And Cade and Shawnee, maybe I share this with you so you can circulate as well. But this is 12-week Health Accelerator series that we're doing right now in our community is called Timeless Health. And so we're bringing in some new innovations. And today we're going to really dive into blood sugar. And then we're going to dive into some inflammatory markers that you want to look at, because it's that removal of those things are really important. But the pain-free upgrade is, the first mindset is kind of that mindset of failure or stagnation. And that's you haven't felt even a glimmer of hope that your pain can ever be helped with an anti-inflammatory diet, cold therapy, or regenerative medicine. The second mindset is kind of the one of frustration, where you want to move out of the condition you're in, but you don't know where to go. And this is, you'd like to regenerate what's degenerated, but don't know where to find credible regenerative medicine therapies. The third third mindset is kind of like that status place where, I've reached the pinnacle. I'm there. And that is, you have seen the benefits of getting rid of pain quickly and have worked with the leading orthopedists in the world and don't need regeneration. So Cade, I don't know how many times you've heard, I worked with the world's best orthopedists, and I don't know how many best there can be, but I can tell you, I think we've all, I think they're all the best. They're all amazing. So
yeah.
but yeah, and so we hear that from a lot of patients. I work with the Jazz doctors or the University of Utah's leading physician, and so which is great. Those are phenomenal people, but the next mindset is the most important, and that's the transformative mindset is reversing pain with three simple steps of removing inflammation, repair damage, and continual regeneration is your lifelong enjoyable upgrade. So Cade, have you upgraded your body and got rid of some pain throughout you've had some injuries?
Oh yeah, I've done quite a few different things there. Camera's going a little crazy, guys. Sorry. Went all blurry on me. I went through with my back, going through some of the regenerative medicine that I went through that I did to really recover that injury. And man, it was amazing to go through that process.
Yeah, because Cade had a fracture. Was it T4? That's the area that was fractured in your motocross or your motorcycle accident, right?
Yeah. It was, I'm trying to, yeah, I was right around there. And I couldn't play basketball really at all. Snowboarding, my back just ached all the time. If I did anything active, it just got really, really sore and achy. And so, I still try to stay active, but I'd pay for it for another 3 to 5 days to a whole week afterwards, just in pain. And so, when I got the treatment done with some regenerative medicine, it was just amazing. The first little bit, noticed a little bit of improvement, and then after about 90 days, it was like I could ride, I could snowboard, I could play basketball, no problems. It was awesome.
Yeah, so it sounds like I know your internet's a little glitchy, Cade. So, but I'll kind of fill in the gap. But yeah, Cade, before he had his regenerative medicine therapy, he would start crying, and because he can't, I'd have to give tissues. One night I had to put him in a diaper and a onesie because he was in so much pain. Okay, that's a joke. But he was in a lot of pain, and it was crazy afterwards because he could enjoy the activities a lot more. Because if you're thinking about working in your unique physical abilities, you think about the time when you're a kid when you feel alive. And I think about when I learned how to ride a bike. Being on training wheels was kind of frustrating because it still is a little clunky. But man, I remember when my dad was helping me, get that momentum to just start pedaling the bike on my own. That felt so liberating to me. And then I look at another moment, and one of the most liberating times is sprinting. When I really started to recognize the fact that I could run really fast and faster than most of the other kids in my school, that was actually a liberating moment for me, where I was like, holy cow, I can actually run. That was another time. And then I used to go and jump my motorcycle out at the St. Anthony sand dunes. I'd go move sprinkler pipes and move them really quickly because if I could finish in time, I would get the last hour of daylight and I could go ride my dirt bike. And to the point where we were jumping about 120, 130 feet. And we'd probably jump 25, 30 feet on the sand dunes. And it's a pretty soft landing if you do it right, if you're on the downhill. But I remember just getting to that level where suddenly I was elevated. And it was like, with the Red Bull commercial, it will give you wings. And by the way, I'm not promoting Red Bull here, but I'm promoting this idea that if you want to live a really vibrant, healthy life, then maybe consider finding some unique abilities that you could do your whole life I'm not jumping my dirt bike 130 feet. I still ride my dirt bike, but I keep the wheels on the ground for the most part. And same with, mountain biking. You want to mitigate your risk because you don't want to die of stupidity. But there's also some benefits that come when you're in the flow state, when you're pushing yourself physically. It's a beautiful thing. And so one of the new sports I'm taking up is golf. And that's been a challenge for me because I'm not really, that it's too slow of a sport. But what I've discovered is if I can sprint between the holes, it is beautiful because I get about 3 or 4 miles of like sprinting every time we play 9 holes of golf. I can't do 18. I just get that's too much time out there. It just feels obnoxious. But I am, for you golfers out there, yes, I'm trying to pick up a new sport.
Yeah. I still just imagine seeing this guy running, sprinting between holes and carrying a club. That sounds pretty good.
I kind of imagine like I'm on a hunt, like it's my spear. And so
nice. So you're holding it more warrior-esque.
Yeah, I feel like, it's kind of my man coming out, my Neanderthal. I mean, 23andMe reminds me of once a month how much more Neanderthal I have than the rest of humans. So that's how I connect with my roots.
Nice.
Yeah,
So
if you want to join me golfing, to be embarrassed, but the bottom line is find some things that you really love doing because it can keep you. It feels fresh. It feels exciting, and the physical body. I think we've become disconnected with our physical body in so many aspects. Kids are, they're hunched down on computers. We're interacting with screens. And we forget about movement, and movement is healing at its core. And so, this whole concept of finding your those unique abilities that you love are really important. And this is why mindset number one in finding that is, if you dive deeper into it, you say, well, you've got to get rid of pain because pain really is something that gets in the way of you enjoying your health expression through physical activity. And so, where we talk about these 3 phases of care: remove inflammation, repair damage, and then regenerate the body. So you want to be in this continual regeneration process. It's kind of like regenerative braking in a Tesla. It's beautiful because you're putting energy back into the system, and that's what regenerative medicine do. And there's peptides that we can discuss today. There's different cellular therapies that are made. Tissue allergies have been phenomenal. But one of the things that you want to do right out of the gates when it comes to understanding inflammatory patterns is get a functional exam. And the functional exam, it could include x-rays. But the other thing it will include is trigger point mapping. So when you have trigger points, I think we've all had knotted up muscles. And I have a couple of muscles that are super tight because I started my Catalyst suit. I've got this electrical suit that I've been using. And if you want to look it up, it's Catalyst. I think it's just catalyst.com, but look up Catalyst suit. And it's a cool technology because I've done a couple of workouts in it the last 2 days, and puts electrical currents into your muscles. So you're actually recruiting more muscle fibers. But one of the things that you want to be careful if you're using these kind of advancements is for muscle tension, because when you have trigger points, that's when you start to create adhesion. So it's where you get calcification and collagen fibers that get kind of stuck on the muscles. And then what happens is it shortens the muscle. So it's almost like if you look at the muscle as a pulley system where it helps your arms, your legs move when those muscles contract and open up. Well, if that's not long enough, then that's going to restrict your range of motion, and restricted range of motion can lead to degeneration in the joint and more injuries. And so looking at trigger points can be a great thing to do to test for inflammation, even if it doesn't show up in a blood test. MRI, full body CAT scan. But some of the markers you want to look at in your labs are homocysteine, C-reactive protein, fibrinogen, look at lysosomes, look at calprotectin. In your stool, you'll look at your SIGA, and then a broad inflammatory marker is the sedimentation rate, the Western grin. And those can be really important things to look at for inflammation. So if you look at some of the great ways to reduce inflammation or remove it on your own, my favorite is cold exposure. So exposure, we can find plunges. Cade's got a unique cold plunge in his house. You still jumping in that thing, Cade, or is it did the ice block just get too overbearing?
My since I've moved, my backyard's not as suitable for it, but I still try to. Yeah, it's for those of you that don't know about it, it's just a deep freezer that I purchased, and then I sealed up all the folds in the bottom because it'll leak out. Filled it with water, and then I turn it on for full blast for about 2 days, and then it'll cool off. If it's in the winter, you got to do it a lot less, but once it gets like a little bit of crusty ice in there, then I get a timer, and then it'll flip on for like an hour at night and then flip off so it doesn't turn into a block of ice. That is the important thing, because if you just leave it on the whole time, it's crazy. But yeah, jumping in that, oh man, it's amazing. And then it's just an automatic little ice bath I got there. And then adding in the ozone, I have a little ozonator. I grabbed one on Amazon, and it just filters out, the bacteria in the water. So after I get in it, I turn on the ozonator for about 30 to 60 minutes, and that cleans it out. Have a nice clean cold plunge whenever I want it.
Yeah. Man, my cold plunge since moving into the Heber Valley is the Provo River. And
nice.
I tell you, it's so nice jumping in there. Even though I get weird looks pretty much everywhere I go, which I'm getting used to. And so, but the Provo River is a great place to jump in. So it's interesting if we look at these things, removing inflammation. So cold exposure has been shown to increase NAD production in the liver. Cold exposure has also been shown to increase growth hormone. It's a great way of getting better vascularity too, because what happens when you jump into the cold water, your blood vessels constrict and all the blood flows into the organ systems. And then as you heat up, and this is where like hot and cold, if you have a sauna and a cold plunge, that's ideal. Then the blood vessels open up, and you create this nice new circulatory pathways in your body. And so it's a phenomenal thing. Cold exposure also is one of the best ways to reset your heart rate variability. So it's a great way to get your body activated. And then I like to use the peptides BPC 157 and thymosin beta 4 as part of an overall anti-inflammatory process. And then Tumero, so turmeric. So it's a liposomal based turmeric, so that it's easier to absorb and digest. We use it with APAC, the liquid. Do not get it on your shirt; it will stain. But those are some great treatments you can do for inflammation.
Or carpet or linens.
Didn't you like ruin one of your bedspreads or something with some Tumero, Cade?
My wall and my carpet. It was, I had a syringe left on Sierra's nightstand and it was when Jace, it was quite a few years ago, but Jace came up and just squirted the whole syringe all over the place in our bedroom. And there was orange everywhere. Never came out. There was like a big splotch on the wall. It was all over the carpet. It was pretty comical. But yeah, you got to watch out for the turmeric on clothing.
Yes. Yeah, it's a beast. And in a BPC 157, the interesting thing about that, when you add it with Tumero is basically opening up the pathways so that you can decrease some of those inflammatory cytokines And then BPC 157 helps with nitric oxide production. So nitric oxide is one of the big molecules that assists us in circulation and cardiovascular health. Nitric oxide, interestingly enough, is expressed when heart's open. So oxytocin is the hormone causes this flood of nitric oxide. So beets, if you're eating your beets and your arugula, those are some massive foods. Or rocket is called it in Europe, the arugula leaves, rocket. And but if you eat those, you're going to get massive amounts of nitric oxide. And then give people hugs. These are great ways because that nitric oxide will decrease your inflammation. It'll help repair the damage that happens when you push yourself in physical activity. But it's BPC 157 is also angiogenic, so you get better circulation. It's overall best and most pleiotropic. Also works on the intestinal lining, the blood-brain barrier. It's great. We've injected it into joints, and it's been a pretty phenomenal peptide overall. Thymosin beta-4 has similar properties, but if you think of this one, thymosin beta-4 is more about getting cell populations to reproduce. So you have a clear new cells as your cells go through autophagy. And so thymosin beta-4 is one of my favorite peptides because I don't feel sore after I work out. And it's kind of a little hack or a shortcut in that. And it looks like we had a question come through. And I apologize, our internet sounds like Cade and I both our internets aren't up to speed this morning. I'm not sure what happened. They're still asleep.
Yeah, the comment that came in or question, you mentioned yesterday trying to have your coffee done by 11 or noon at the latest. Why can it affect your sleep?
That's a great question. And so yesterday I said one of the very first things that we need to do with inflammation is sleep. And so now we covered all the sleep hacks in our conversation last night. But the biggest reason why coffee, 2 o'clock's the latest for most of us. But what coffee does is it stimulates cortisol, and it stimulates a little bit of a stress response. And so what you're going to find is that you don't produce melatonin. You delay your melatonin production, and especially in the summer. And most of us are way up here in the northern hemisphere, and so we have long days right now. And we're going to have a decrease in melatonin production, and so we won't sleep as deeply. Drinking caffeine, and yes, I recognize that some people that are fast metabolizers, medium metabolizers, slow metabolizers, based on how quickly you metabolize it, it will impact your sleep. And so that's a general rule of thumb. Just try to be done with it by 11 or 12. I love the decaf. I like, especially in the winter. And even in the evenings, it's more in the winter than the summer, but even in the evenings, it's kind of a nice little ritual, great polyphenols and healthy things in coffee that you can get even from decaf. So hopefully that answers the question there. So, all right. So the other thing on inflammation, or were there any other questions, Cade?
No, not at this point.
Okay. So the other thing you really want to look at is blood sugar dysregulation, because what happens if your blood sugar is not stable, and this is our 60-day reset, we want you off all sugar. And that means like if it's got more than 1 gram, just remove it. And if you do that for 60 days, it's amazing what can happen to your body, how much better you feel, the decrease in inflammation. We've had patients over years with chronic pain and they can't move their body and they're stiff and sore. We get them off sugar and it's like, oh, I guess my joints are actually, they're healthy. They can regenerate. I mean, it's amazing. So the very first thing that happens with blood sugar dysregulation is you have a spike of blood sugar and then a drop. It damages your arterial linings. And then what happens is you get glycation and oxidative stress. And glycation, or age, advanced glycation end products is what breaks down our body's ability to heal. And so if you look at kind of some of the symptoms that might show up, and we actually had this question come through a YouTube channel, and so hopefully they're here, but how do I know if I have hypoglycemia or if I'm pre-diabetic? But one of the things that you can notice is in the morning you have hypoglycemia. Your body needs some type of stress to keep going in the morning. So, caffeine, refined carbs. So if you wake up in the morning, you're like, I just have to eat first thing and I have to have caffeine. It's that person who don't talk to me. And I've seen t-shirts that say that and coffee mugs, which is, don't talk to me until I had my coffee. That's when you've probably got some issues with hypoglycemia. And so this means you probably need a late night snack. You wake up to eat. This is a really important thing to look at. You can get shaky. You can get hanger. Just so hungry and you're angry that you're hungry. From a blood perspective, you'll have like low fast glucose. Your hemoglobin A1C will be below like a 4.8. Low triglycerides. You can have C-peptide and low LDH. So that's some things that you want to look at there. For some like pretty chronic hypoglycemia, you're going to have strong cravings for sweets. You're going to crave coffee and sweets in the afternoon, like first thing when you wake up, and then again in the afternoon, and then you're going to get super tired in the afternoon. But when you eat, you feel kind of the sense of euphoria. That's a classic glycemic sign. And then you get headaches or shaky if meals are missed. And these are all things that we want to look out for, because that's what can cause massive levels of inflammation in your body. And it can also lead to metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, and then your muscle mass. If you have insulin resistance, your muscle mass is going to decrease. You're going to have, your glutes and your legs will start shrinking. So for those of us who can't keep our pants up very well, then it's fixing that insulin resistance is huge. And so, some of the things you can do is this is where we found amazing benefits with semaglutide. That's a GLP agonist, but this is a phenomenal treatment. Not only has it been, FDA approved to treat obesity and diabetes, but it's phenomenal for insulin resistance. And we're seeing patients who are able to finally get through that sugar craving. Yesterday I was teasing a patient, or 2 days ago, I was teasing a patient that I was going to have to put duct tape over her mouth because of the sugar. I said, there's only one we can get. It's duct tape. And she was like, and I said, no, I'm joking. But I'm going to give you some help, because she'd been trying for years to get rid of sugar. I've got the willpower like a mouse. And so I use pads to help me circumvent that. And semaglutide was the one that's so helpful for that, for the sugar cravings. Cade, how was your experience on semaglutide?
It's hard to describe. I liked it from a maybe a hunger standpoint. I definitely didn't have the same food cravings, and could get away with eating like virtually nothing. My problem, I enjoy eating. And so when I was, especially when I was doing the carnivore diet, man, I couldn't eat hardly any meat. And I was, I would, just that was my biggest complaint with it. But really, I was amazed. I think it helped, really helped me trim down in a couple different ways.
Yeah.
So it was really helpful. It was just, I definitely couldn't eat as much as I usually eat, which that's kind of the purpose, right?
Nice. Like, yeah, because it delays gastric emptying. So you're be fuller for longer. And because it's interesting, because if you think about the types of diets that lead to obesity and diabetes, it's a high fat, sugar diet. And what happens when you have that type of diet, you're going to have insulin resistance. You're going to have a low glucose transportation across the cell membrane, and that leads to a high serum glucose and high serum insulin levels. So if you're looking at your labs right now, and I know many of you have run your labs, and so you might see those levels elevated. Those are the markers, and this is where we don't wait and watch. We're not going to just watch it until the full train wreck has. But what we want to do is get on top of that sooner. You'll also see elevated levels of triglycerides, and then you're going to see an increase in the size of abdominal fat. So if you are getting that like belly fat, that's a good sign that there's some obesity, and diabetes it's that diabesity epidemic that we're in right now. Blood pressure that can increase. You can have more clotting in the blood, which can lead to strokes, increase of cardiovascular disease. So it's really important, when we talk about inflammation. And as we started the conversation, we're talking about finding your unique physical abilities and really moving in that direction in a meaningful way. Helping your body fully express health is magical. But in order to do that, at the age of 100 and do it well, we've got to get rid of inflammation. And so inflammation, it boils down to getting rid of those physical traumas, the injuries that you've had, get those fixed as quickly as possible. Do not delay. And then the second thing you want to do is making sure that you've got your stress under control. So you're doing breathing, you've got good mindsets, you're doing your mindset morning journaling every day. And then the third thing is removing all chemicals, removing all the stressors from an insulin resistance perspective, sugar perspective, anything that's artificial. Those things can lead to more inflammation in the body, and they can disrupt your gut biome. And then the fourth thing is removing infections, because infections can also cause inflammation. And we've seen this, one of the leading causes of cardiovascular disease is from infections, usually that comes from the mouth. And so it's really important to brush your teeth. And Cade, now that he has braces, I think you probably spend about an hour manicuring your mouth, Cade, a day, would you say? Flossing and
maybe not that long, but it's a lot of time. And it's when I don't have my water pick, oh man, it's not fun. But yes, it takes a lot of work.
Yes, it is a lot of work. And so if you think about some of the things to look at in inflammation, wake up stiff in the morning. Does it take you a long time to warm up? Do you notice that you've got aches and pains that don't seem to go away? These are all some of the symptoms. Do you notice that your blood pressure is higher? Do you crave sugar? Do you notice that your body's putting fat? These are really critical things to look at. And so hopefully this is helpful as you start your journey on finding your unique physical abilities. And what questions do you have so far? I think. Well, good. So the big thing today, I'm going to share with you guys this time scorecard. I'll email this over to you, Cade, and you can share it in the notes. And then we'll be moving through this. But just to highlight some of the peptides we talked about, thymosin beta 4, very angiogenic, and so use that one to recover from workouts faster. We talked about BPC 157 for nitric oxide production, hugging, getting in cold. And the other thing with BPC is it's great for leaky gut, great for actually one of the first studies with that, I believe it was done in Ukraine or Romania, somewhere in that area. And they actually found that it had really positive outcomes for ulcerative colitis. And then if you have sugar cravings, semaglutide is amazing. And semaglutide is one of those peptides. It's a GLP-1 agonist. And so it's really good at just resetting the pancreas. So, so pretty amazing. So really appreciate you guys being part of the community. Keep it up on your health journey. We're here to help you, and we will see you guys next Thursday, same time, same place. And you guys enjoy the rest of your day.
See everybody. And just posted that in the chat box so you can download that document real quick before we jump off here. If you're on the live, make sure you grab that document. You guys have an amazing weekend. See everybody.
Bye-bye.